Good evening. Welcome to Sound Off. My name is Don Tessier. I'm filling in for Linda tonight. She's under the weather. Is that cold weather finally got a hold of her, and I think she's got a little flu action. Joining me tonight are two people I think that you might know. On the left-hand side of me, the reason I put them there is because they are on the left and I'm on the right, as you can see. On the way left is Jimmy Fitzgerald, former mayor and member of the House of Representatives in the state of Vermont. And on my other left is Dave McWilliams, who has been on the select board down in St. Albans and now is president of the TV station here, Northwest
Pig TV.
What do you call it?
Northwest Pig TV.
Okay. So I think that we'll have some good talking and camaraderie tonight about the status and the state of Vermont. It's apropos that we're talking about this tonight because tomorrow, I understand, is Montpelier is going to start trying to find out how to get more money out of us and give us more taxes. So, Jimmy, you must have a lot to talk about since you served 12 years in the legislature. What do you think in the 2018 legislature should come out to betterment of Vermont? I do have something that we'll be talking about a little bit later, and the percentages will probably blow a lot of people's mind. And everybody in the legislature, both the House and Senate, should read this because we have an exodus of people leaving the state of Vermont. Welcome to the show, Jimmy.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Glad to be here. The first day of the session, Don, is usually, how are you? Did you have a good summer? And that sort of activity. Not much goes on. People reacquaint themselves with their old colleagues, some young colleagues. This session, I believe, is going to be a very, very tough session. The issues are great, in my judgment, and the money is low. There's absolutely no question that the state of Vermont is facing a huge debt, and one that we're not even sure of at this point, exactly how much impact the Fed's cutting the tax rate or the taxes will have on the state of Vermont. It will be substantial, but not even the state of Vermont knows as we speak here tonight the actual damage and what it might be. It will be great. The legislature is facing some very tough decisions and tasks. Perhaps nothing any lighter for them to address other than the budget is, of course, the cleanup of Lake Champlain. It's estimated that $1 billion will be needed over the next 20 years to help clean this lake. It's funny that they say that. I had a very good friend of mine who excelled in this business. In fact, he was a professor, well known. He's passed now, but Mr. Jack Wood of St. Albans, who was a professor at Western Michigan, once told me that if no person, dog, child, man, woman, deer, bear, lived on Lake Champlain for the next 100 years, no matter what they did, the lake would not clean itself. He had experience working on Lake Erie, so he had some knowledge of cleanup. If we had only been a little wiser, practically, some of it's my fault, I share that. We spent millions and millions of dollars on studies, and they're on everybody's shelf in the state of Vermont, and nobody's looking at them, including what David told me earlier in the town of St. Albans. It's a shame. It provided jobs for people who had no jobs otherwise. And today, the person who headed up those studies, Julie Moore, is head of the natural resources for the state of Vermont as secretary. I don't have a lot of confidence in Julie. And I hope that she proves me wrong and does a lot better job. I don't think that the legislature will continue to spend that money until the source of the pollution is absolutely shut off. That's not the case as we speak here tonight. Pollution is still going into the lake. Sewage is going into the lake. Runoff water is going into the lake. Agriculture messes are still going in the lake, although they've been slowed some, and I thank them for that. But nobody should spend a nickel on Lake Champlain, Lake Carmine, unless they shut the source. And I think the legislature will probably agree with that. I
They
think
should be able to, like I said, of all those studies over the last 40, 50 years, things really haven't changed. I mean, the polluters are the polluters.
I think it's reduced some, maybe.
Well, my point being is, some of the polluters, like the city of St. Albans, before have cleaned it up when they put separation of storm and sewer instead of dumping it raw into the lake.
Absolutely.
So we don't need to study that anymore. We just need to find a solution of taking care of it, and that's the study. So
exactly,
my opinion, and I agree with you, I don't think we need to spend $5 million on another study of Lake Champlain.
I hope not.
It's just bad, 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 and let's start cleaning it up.
And the same with Lake Carmine.
Yeah, what else you got that you think that might be?
I think, of course, the legislature is going to tackle something that really disturbs me, the marijuana legislation bill. Now, today, the state of Vermont Public Safety Department announced that 69 folks lost their lives on Vermont highways last year, of which 50% were in some way impaired, either by drugs or alcohol.
And 5 of those people who died was hit by the guy who was high on marijuana. Those students from Harwich High School down in Wakefield area.
Exactly.
So that 69 that you're talking about, 5 of those were students who a guy was drunk on marijuana. So I'm with you 100%.
And so weren't the kids this summer over, what, in Addison that way? Mm-hmm. In that little
that's right,
Volkswagen?
on Route 22A.
And the driver of that, all those kids were impaired, apparently, from the
Right,
reports.
and they weren't from Vermont. They
No,
were from out of state, but they were high on marijuana.
They were coming from one fair, as I understand
Right.
it, to another. So
As I pointed out to you before we went on the air, I was watching TV this morning, and there was this minister who's an Episcopal minister who's now serving God, who was an addict, and he said that what got him on the big drugs was marijuana. He went from marijuana to the big stuff. And he said this is why he's not for marijuana. So everybody out there who are listening, who are concerned, we should call our legislators down there and say, no, no, no. What they're trying to do in Vermont is similar to what they're doing in Colorado and California. They want to make it a moneymaker deal.
Not going to be.
It's going to tax.
Going to have so many states surrounding Vermont with the same law that there's not going to be any potential customers.
Right.
They're not going to get, it's going to cost more money to administer and take care of the damage it does than they'll ever gain.
That's right.
It bothers me that we hire public safety people, so-called experts, who will tell you not to do this, and we turn around and do it anyways.
Well, so see, the legislatures are certain ones there, and what we need to do is get their names and addresses and phone numbers and call them up and say we're not in favor of that. And we need to help, because November 6th, I think, is going to be the next election for the House and Senate in Montpelier. So we need to throw these guys out on their ear because they're not looking out for the state of Vermont.
I think the Franklin County delegation treats us pretty well.
Yeah.
I think overall, as I recall, if I remember the vote of last year, almost unanimous, I believe. It may have been unanimous, but...
Well, the Democratic Party, and I assume the Republican Party, probably do agree on something, and this would be one of the things.
But we're going to do it anyways.
Well, no, but I'm saying they should run ads, and they should call out the people who are supporting this, and so people understand not to vote for them come November 2018. We need to get the people out of there because some of them have been there so long, they feel comfortable, and they come from a district. Now, I'd be surprised, for example, because of the colleges in Chittenden County, anything ever might come out of it. There's a lot of different
Brattleboro,
towns
Wyndham
and
counties,
counties, right, are conservative,
they're very,
and they have people who do that.
Education funding, of course, the legislature is going to look at that again. And legislation, education, I should say, overall. You've got some thoughts on that, Don. I know that you have.
Yep, because they're saying that the cost of is going to be $235 and additional taxes on $250,000 home. This is and it's going to be like 9.4% average increase on educational property tax. The one that gets me the most, all right? I was looking on something today on my computer. I've been saying 81,000 students, all right, because I called the governor's office and the lady told me it was 81,000. I saw on this thing today we have now 77,192 students. But here's the one that really gets under the burr in my saddle. We're anticipating a 3.52% increase of $47.5 million in education spending statewide. Here we are, got 77,192, and we're going to be spending $47.5 million on education more. Okay, it says an increase of 3.5% in education. What is wrong with this picture? And here's another thing I want to say. All right, these legislators need to go and run a business. When you spend more than you make, you go bankrupt, and that's what they're doing. They're bankrupting the state of Vermont. And just so I'll get into this real quick, and I'll get out. If you want to take I'm going to show this right here. I found this. It says Vermont has the lowest percentage of residents looking to stay. In Vermont, we have 24.7% of the people are looking to go to other places, and most of them are going to Florida. Okay, and that's about all I'm going to say. Because
we're losing 2,300 workers per year.
Yeah.
And it's been that way since the year 2010. So the reason why these people aren't staying, there's no need for old guys like me to be, or people to be concerned for old people like me staying. I don't mean to suggest that. But it's tough when you see your young people leaving. And they're leaving for a reason. Yeah,
most of the people are going, as Dave pointed out a while back, some people he knew moved to Nashville, Tennessee area.
Rogers family.
And saved all kinds of money.
Oh, yes.
And I've said this before, my son lives down there. He's got a beautiful home. His property taxes are $1,300 a year, and he's got a nice place.
Yeah.
And they got good schools, good roads. So.
Oh, yeah, they're good. The education system in Vermont has some problems. You and I, Don and David, were talking earlier about the ratios.
Yeah.
I think we need to clear up, and I think the legislature needs to fully understand what's being said. And when we talk about a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1 ratio in this state, we're not talking about 5 kids in the classroom per student, per teacher. We're not suggesting that's not what is meant by that ratio. This state does a wonderful job with kids' special needs. A lot of states don't do as well as Vermont in that category. I think they do a good job here, but it costs money, granted. They are in those ratios, including bus drivers, school nurse, cafeteria workers, and the like. I think many people, and I can understand why, think that's 5 children in a classroom. No. It's not that at all, so I don't want people to get that thought.
Well, we talked about that at BFA. It was a technical support or something over there. They got 21 people, all right, and so that's
21 employees.
Yeah, employees, yeah. Right. Yeah. So, but anyway, so I will give Mr. David a few words. What wisdom? Do you have any wisdom or things?
Well, first of all, sitting between you two guys, I have to keep quiet because I'm afraid if I say too much, you guys might raise the hair on the rest of your head. As far as cleaning up Lake Champlain, they've been talking about it for many, many years. We've done studies in the town. The state's done studies, and it's coming down.
We've done studies all over.
Yeah. And what it's come down to, and by the way, anybody wants to call in, our number is 527-6449. You can ask any of these people any question. It's coming down to a utility tax or a stormwater runoff.
Yes.
The stormwater runoff in St. Albans Town, if we were to put that in the budget, would be close to $4 million. Town taxpayers will vote that budget down in a minute.
Yep.
So they're going to go to a utility tax. I was watching public access. The city of St. Albans is already preparing their taxpayers by bringing qualified people in to talk about the utility tax and what is going to happen. It's going to average between $7 and $12 a month for having a utility tax. It's not in writing yet, but that's what they figure what it'll cost each household in the state of
Vermont.
City of St. Albans.
Now, is that the same one? There's somebody in the legislature took in what they call a parcel tax for anybody
Senator
along
Roy.
the lake.
Senator Roy.
Is that going to be in addition to that? Because that's the reason why people are leaving the state of Vermont is because of taxation. Now, I'm willing to pay that $12 a month to clean up that lake. I'll be willing to do that, but I don't want to keep pyramiding on it. Once it says I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I don't want to keep building that pyramid. I want to stay, and I want that money used 100% for what it's used, and not to skim it off like the government normally does.
Are you suggesting, Donald, that that's not the case in all cases?
I am. Are you not that naive to believe?
You want to give out your telephone number tonight? But with the liquid manure, we have liquid manure spread throughout Franklin County in the state of Vermont, and I think that was a big mistake. Putting old milk or milk that they couldn't process into liquid manure, because when spreading it on fields, some farmers have been spreading it right along ditches. There's so many feet from the side of the ditch where it's supposed to be spread.
Is that going to be an issue with the legislature?
Do I think it's going to be an issue? No, they won't touch farmers. You know that, and I know that, yeah.
I don't know that.
I think that the farmers are being educated, that they've got to take and realize that if we don't get them to help, along with the residents of every city and town and every house or camp on the lake shore, that lake will never clean up. We'll be dead and buried, and they could probably throw some liquid manure on us. Mm-hmm. So we have to take and make sure that money is used the way it should be. That's going to be taxed on your utility tax. Will be taxed on any previous service, which means your driveway, your house, your house roof, your shed. If you've got anything else on that property, and that's what it's going to come to. South Burlington right now has it. The city of St. Albans is doing the study. They've had professional people come up and talk about it on public access.
Yes.
I'd like to see them do away with that efficiency Vermont deal, at least cut it down a little bit. I think most of the people are conscious of how to be conservative when dealing with energy, because it affects your bottom line in your house. So I think the legislature should put that down a little bit and put it on to electricity again. Because I think people will pay, but they're getting tired of all this pyramid. They say, well, we'll do this, we'll do this. All that does, all right, is hire more people on the state roll, as far as I can see. We don't need that. I believe in energy, LED lights, all right, LED lights and all that. And so I've got my house set up so the energy goes off, we don't burn, all right? So I don't need to be told all this. Most people do. Some public service, I think it would be better if we had that in part of that of education. Educate the young people, they'll tell the old people what to do. Right? You watch them on computers today. They can go through those things like that.
Not even close.
And I'm sitting there and say, what's going on here?
Yeah, me too.
Takes me 2 days just to get on.
Same here.
Well, Efficiency Vermont also helps, like our billing that we're billing right now up at Franklin Park West. We're billing that so it's energy efficient. We are getting rebates, to help pay for that billing. So, there is good points and bad points.
Yeah. Well, I get a feeling. I mean, there's always room for cut. Well, this is why I have a hard problem with government. There's always room to cut things, and it's not going to harm anybody. All right, you just need to be more efficient. You need to be more efficient.
I just got a 2% increase in my Social Security.
Oh, big deal.
And after they took out my Medicare increase and my prescription increase,
we still owe more money.
I'm still in the hole.
That's
so
right.
What do I have to?
I'm glad you got one. We didn't with railroad retirement. I'll tell you.
What do I have to do? I have to adjust my budget.
There you go. And I'm in the same boat as you, because I started laughing. And I think I said this last time I was on with Linda. I said, now I want the people in Washington, I don't want anybody in the Congress to give themselves more than a 2% pay raise. They should get the same that we got.
Well, give them enough money, Don, to get home and stay here, would you please?
Oh, yeah, I'm with you on that. And take the road maps away from them.
Yeah.
And take the roads so they can't leave Vermont.
That's
because
right.
they're screwing up everything.
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought earlier that we shouldn't have a two-party system. Doesn't do any of us any good.
Right.
No.
But I think we'd accomplish a lot more. Sorry to interrupt your.
Yeah, that's all right.
thoughts,
That's all right.
David.
You know, but you know, right now I understand through the grapevine, and I don't know if it's going to be on the agenda, is a carbon tax again.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard that?
Oh, sure.
We
Yeah.
got two people. We
No,
got two people.
two.
One, I've read that today. We got, his name is Pearson, I believe it is, Senator Pearson from Chittenden County. And there's a lady down south who's kicking that up again.
Brattleboro.
Brattleboro, okay, I know. I could. Me too, me too, me too. I know she's.
Oh, no. Sarah, the other gal, is
I don't know where she's
folks
from.
own a furniture company over on the eastern side of the state, south of St. Johnsbury, in that area. She's the assistant leader, or she was at one time, I thought. Very progressive lady, very bright lady. I know her well and I like her, but she's very progressive. And I like all progressives,
Well, guess what?
if they don't serve in the legislature.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is, I know that one, they want to do 88 cents a gallon for fuel oil and propane, and I think it's around 50 cents a gallon for gasoline.
Nice for the guy driving from Montgomery to IBM to go
Right.
to work every morning. Yep.
And
Helps
I mean,
out.
and what we'll do is for these legislators who voted for that, we won't give them mileage. They'll have to pay for their own gas or spend the night.
Good luck with that.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Good luck with that.
You know, it's you know just like your famous president, Donald Trump,
My famous president,
who took
Ronald Reagan,
I agree with you. Ronald Reagan was a good
Mine was
but
president.
Harry
I
Truman.
don't dislike President Trump because, as you well know, my 401k and my stocks are around 25 to 30% over what they've been. So if you have $300,000 in the market, you just made $90,000 without doing a thing.
Well, you know, because
you're not gonna have a
you're
death
up, you're up
tax.
with the filthy rich. You
You're
know,
not going to
with-
have a death tax and capital gains. And this is what I'm concerned about with Vermont. If we talked before we went on the air, is what the state of Vermont's going to do, because they're going to try to get, as I told Linda the last time we were here on the show, the state of Vermont's going to lose a lot of money, because if I pay $100 to the federal government, I pay $225 to the state. So if I only pay $50 to the federal government, I'm only paying the state of Vermont $12.50. So they're going to be losing some money, and rest assured, they're going to try to find it way
And
without,
I'm wondering where they're going to
without
find
cutting.
it. I'm wondering where Vermont can find it.
Well, I don't know where they're going to find it, because most of the people here are migrating away from Vermont to other parts of the world because of
Are we going
taxation.
to cut any programs?
You cut programs. You can never cut something you put in, because
I get
it's against the law.
I really got a kick out of some of the United States senators and so forth who voted against the Trump tax cut, suggesting that if they did that and it passed, it would add to the deficit. Have they ever heard of the word cut spending
Well,
offset a tax reduction?
Yeah, but we give $88 billion to Pakistan. It was
Right,
in-
Not going anymore.
well, and this
After
is
tonight.
it. Well, and guess who else is not going to be getting it anymore? Those 14 nations
Saudi Arabia.
who voted against the United States making
We're going to save
Jerusalem
money.
the capital
We'll split that up.
for Israel. All right, I'm glad that we finally, if you want something, you have to earn it. All right, and then when you earn it, we'll give it to you. But you're right. Our foreign aid is too much.
Why should we?
Going to the wrong people.
Well,
Why should
another
we
one-
be giving money to foreign countries?
Right? NATO is another one that we were doing
Oh my
a lot
God.
for.
We've been so
Yeah,
blind.
we give money
to that.
away like tractor
Fucking
trailer
sailors.
trucks.
I
You know.
shouldn't
And then
say
they
that-
blow us up with the proceeds.
That's right. It's crazy that we have to pay to have friendship. That's what it is.
Well,
You give
how come you give
Saudi
me $20 a week to talk to you?
I'm going to be interested in seeing what the deficit is. I'm paying close attention tomorrow. I want to know what the supplemental bill may look like.
You mean that the legislature?
Legislature.
Yeah, me too.
That's a cover up of everybody that made mistakes in their budgets.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, we're about $54 million short on income already.
Yeah, and you're going to have they'll have a supplemental bill. They have to. it's unfair of me to say mistakes made entirely. Unusual homicides and police investigations add to cost that wasn't anticipated, but some of these departments have got people walking over each other down there.
Well, I think the public service, safety, the police, fire, and stuff like that, we don't want to touch it. But like you said,
We need state police officers.
right. You go through all the other government agencies down there. Yes, we can cut people off. We can cut them off a little bit because they're like you said, they're standing all over themselves. Government has gotten too big.
I've often complained that, you know, if you want to make a buck, hang a shingle out and say you're an expert in some field, get a federal grant and a state grant, pay yourself $100,000 a year, hire 2 secretaries and 2 researchers, pay them with the funds, you're in business.
Yeah.
Hang a shield down on North Main Street tomorrow, Don, say you're an insurance expert, and you're going to get some federal and state grants to keep the office open and pay yourself a handsome salary.
Yeah.
That's the problem with this state and others.
Yeah.
We have too many of this food. How many agencies in the state of Vermont declare themselves to be helpful and aids to the homeless? How many of those? Wouldn't we be better off if we just merged some of that money and did a good job with it?
Yeah, I'm with you.
We wouldn't be paying so many salaries. How many agencies are there? There's COTS, there's no COTS, there's 3 COTS, there's 2 COTS. I don't know what there isn't. But there's too many of them. Mm-hmm. The overhead costs each alive, and unfortunately the benefit doesn't go to the people you're trying to benefit.
Well, that's where our legislators should be doing this. They should be going on, you know, and looking to where we can cut. All they want to do is vote yes or no on a hike in taxes.
Well, I like Senator Pearson's idea, and I don't agree with Senator Pearson very often. He's a progressive. But
he's the guy who wants carbon tax.
yeah, I know it. But he also has introduced legislation that suggests that the executive
Oh, yes, I saw that.
of any non-profit organization shall not be paid more than the governor of the state of Vermont.
You know what brought that
Now,
on?
there are a lot of them above 166 that the governor gets
Yeah,
right
but
now.
you know what brought that on is the head guy down at Fletcher, not Fletcher, but Vermont Health, what do we call it now? It used to be Fannie Allen.
UVM guy, $2 million a year.
I thought it was 3 point. I thought it
Well,
was 3 million.
could be.
Because I said that, you know, $3 million for that guy. He's a doctor, okay, and he's not doing anything but running that hospital down there.
With a lot of help.
With a lot of help. We have department heads, we have all these other people. So what the hang is he doing? And I assume they must have a board of directors who might get paid something.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Like the trustees at the University of Vermont.
Right. Right.
As well they should.
Well, these are private. These people are basically. They should get some expenses, but they shouldn't be making more than 5 or 6
more than
figures.
the governor.
Right. Right. But I think it was like $3 million. I couldn't believe it.
I know.
So I mean. We're just running out of other people's money. I always said communism is good, socialism is good until you run out of other people's money.
yeah, it works well.
I got a question for you guys. This ought to set you off. Do you guys feel that the minimum wage should be $15 an hour?
I do.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you?
Jesus.
But
I didn't hear you.
But
there,
I want
Mr.
them to
Tessier.
perform. I don't want them to stand on the corner of Lake Street down here and collect it. I want them to work. I want them to go on to Vermont farms.
I got this from a friend of mine, Gregory Gervais. States where welfare recipients are paid more than the minimum wage. Right now, the state of Vermont was $10 an hour. Now it's gone to $10.50 an hour. People on welfare could make more than double those working minimum wage jobs in Vermont. The city of Montpelier, city government via Facebook. Total welfare benefit package is $37,705. Pre-tax wage equivalent to $42,350, and hourly rate equivalent to $20.36. State hourly minimum wage for 2017 is $10.
You got to be very careful, I believe, and I threw it out there and said I agree. I do agree, but we've got to be very careful we don't jeopardize our young people, our college students, because employers are absolutely not going to pay these kids $15 an hour.
in
So
California,
do something with that.
I think
California, they raised it to $15. They lost over 400,000 jobs. Just like you said,
yes.
we got to protect the high
Gotta
schoolers
protect.
and the college
And the
people.
college
Not
kids.
anybody else. I agree with the $15, 100%.
You can't live on any less.
People working out at certain people at McDonald's and places like that, pumping gas at things like that. I think maybe $12 an hour, like they put up the sign up there.
I think there should be a two-tier wage. You know, kids that are in high school should get, you know, like $10 an hour.
Yep.
And then the ones that have graduated, you know, they're not going to get a lot of benefits for $15 an hour.
No.
But the $15 an hour is at least a halfway decent wage where they can afford to feed their family, to rent an apartment, you know. And people in this area, apartments are real high right now.
Well, I know. We're
That's
getting
why
as
they're
bad as
going-
Burlington.
Yeah.
You know, I laughed, I chuckled the other day. There was an ad in the Burlington Free Press at University of Vermont. They were seeking snowplow drivers and shovelers for the sidewalks at $10.30 an hour. University of Vermont. They got a lot of nerve.
And they're
We're
paying
going to pay
these
these poor
professors.
guys $10 an hour?
Right, they're paying these professors, okay,
Billions not to be there.
About $200,000, $300,000. All right, it's just like when.
Some of those guys show up once a week.
Right. It's just like the athletic director who was hired after that last one left. They gave him $250,000 right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I said, why did you do that? Because let him prove himself. All right, why were we giving him $250,000? And I said the average pay of a Vermonter is $50,000. It might be 60 now because that was a while back. But there's a big discrepancy there. Here's a guy getting $225,000, and the average is $60,000 for a Vermonter.
He's managing the athletic.
And guess who's paying the bill? The taxpayers. Do you think that says
And the
well
poor
in the
little guy
saddle?
shoveling out there at 3:30 tomorrow morning is going to get $10.30 an hour.
Yeah, right.
That's
Let the
and I talked to my wife about it, and I said, "Good luck with that."
Yeah, nobody's going to do
Burlington
it.
area, who's going to apply? $10.30 an hour? You can't.
Yeah.
You
So what
can't
else
pay-
you got, Mr. Dave?
Well, you know, I think the biggest thing that's haunting all our families is the opiate problem
Oh
here.
my God, so.
And I
No
bla-
question.
And I blame it on doctors overprescribing medicine.
Yep.
a
They
lot
do
of it.
that.
You know, right now, I guess now they're coming up with a thing. You might have to sign a form saying that this medicine only be used for you, and you're going to be allowed so many pills. You know, and then you're gonna have to come back to the hospital and have a blood test. I kind of support
Not
that.
all doctors' fault, so David. A large majority of it lays on their shoulders, I believe.
Yeah.
But the individual's got to have some self-restraint.
Oh yeah. You know.
We've got a lot of people running from pharmacist to pharmacist to pharmacist
Yeah.
every day of the week for this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all about the people, because I've talked to this once before.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Right. A friend of mine had hip replacement down in Waterbury,
Yep.
and he came out of Dartmouth Hitchcock, and I forget how many pills he got, and he sent him back. Says, no, I'll take aspirin and I'll suck it up in pain. So a lot of people are doing that. But I think, like you said, I believe what Dave said actually it was the manufacturer who did it, who should go to jail, along with some of the
I agree.
doctors. Okay, but the manufacturer advertised all this, and people, you know, like I grew up taking aspirin when you didn't have a headache and stuff like that. So there
was no Tylenol.
Right, right. But you know, so you didn't get addicted to that stuff.
Yeah, you
But
do.
It was that, and if you watch television, they spend millions of dollars on advertising. It should be against the law.
I was taking one medicine, and I was taking it for 5 years at $300 a month.
Whoa.
It was Celebrex. And
What's that do for you?
What it did to me?
What's it supposed to do for you?
Oh, it's an anti-inflammatory medicine. It's supposed
Yeah.
to relieve my problems with my shoulder because I've had 5 shoulder operations. And it irritated the lining of my stomach. I stopped eating. I couldn't eat any food. If I took my wife out for dinner, it didn't stay down. You know, I went through 2 CAT scans, endoscopic, colonoscopy, and everything else. And my wife said, David, why don't you stop taking your Celebrex?
There you go.
Stop taking
She's a
my
good doctor.
Yeah.
She turned up.
Yeah.
Well, there
and,
must be somebody out there that has a question or a concern or a comment on what we're talking about. I hate to be talking about the way this is, but you know, if you're not part of the process, you are the problem. We need to get out there and make our thoughts and things known, and try to get a hold of our legislators and talk to other people out there who are going to vote and maybe win them over. so we can get smart people to vote for the right people in Montpelier and the United States as well, because some of our people have been there too long, and they feel that because they've been there that long, it's owed to them, and that's not the way our founding fathers set it up. It was supposed to be you went there, stayed a while, and went back home and ran your business. But we don't do that. We have.
I think Don and Franklin County were very fortunate to have the legislative mix that we have. They go out of their way to meet on the Mondays in different communities. The crowd's usually very small.
Well, that's what I mean. That's the point being we need to make them talk to what we feel they should be doing down there.
Absolutely.
And it's carbon tax. If you don't get involved in this one, you're going to get involved later, and it's going to be greenbacks out of your pocket.
At the gas pump and the heating oil pump.
Right. You need to get involved right now and make it known that we're not supporting it. Now, I know Phil Scott says he would veto that, but as you know, the Democrats hold the majority down there, and if they override them, it's going to be the law.
That will be the law if they can override them.
Yeah.
I think Governor Scott would still veto that. I think that would still be in the back of his mind, but he could be overridden, as you suggest.
Yeah, he could be overruled.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we need to.
I want to tell you something about these folks who like to push these programs. I call it the Republic of Burlington. But the progressives down there don't give up.
No.
They fight. They'll come at you every year with the same program. I agree with you, Don and David. You folks have got to pay attention. It is distressing to me how little knowledge the American people have of their government with the vast media sources we have available for them to watch and listen and view. It is amazing how many people. It reminds me of that guy Waters on Fox News at night when he asked the kids.
Jesse Waters, yeah.
Yeah, who the president of the United States is, and these college kids can't tell them who the president is.
They call them snowflakes, and now they're mad about us because we're calling them snowflakes because they don't know anything and they think it's derogatory. But get involved. I did this once. I lost a bet with a friend of mine when Obama was running. All right, and I had to buy him a steak dinner down at the Longhorn. All right, so I said to him, I said, "Hey, watch this." So this lady waiting on us. I said, "Who's a governor of the state of Vermont?" Didn't have a clue. Who's our representatives in Congress? Not a clue. All right, and I said, "There, see," and she can run and she can vote, and she didn't even know who to vote for. But she might have been on Obama's bandwagon, but she didn't have a clue of what she was voting for. She said somebody got her over. All right, so it cost me a steak dinner. But I said, "You're right. They don't have a clue."
A lot of people are too busy with their families to get involved, but it's they don't realize that it's affecting their wallet.
Yeah,
it's affecting their families.
That's right. This last vote we had on buying that property down on Catherine Street. How many people in St. Albans Town do you think voted?
Don't know.
I think there was just under 300 people.
How many?
Under 300 people voted.
Under 300?
That is sad. Because I vote whether if I don't vote, I should shut my mouth.
Right.
But I try to keep up to date on all these.
It's very disappointing to me that the educational system has dropped civics.
Yeah.
Kids don't know. I don't know if it's necessary that every child should know all the presidents in the order that they were president.
Well,
so be it.
Jimmy, when you were at school, you only had to memorize 6. The rest of them we have to do 45.
Good point. Yeah. But
you're right. You're right.
Somebody asked me. Somebody asked me the other day how many dollars go from our, what do I call it? Ticket sales.
Lottery
from the lottery to the education department. It's a little over $24 million
a year.
A year, a little over 24
Goes
million.
to the education department.
Goes to the education.
So what do they do with it?
But they give it to us, Don, to spend on our children. Don't you know that? We have no control.
I'd like to know where that money goes.
Well, it goes to education someplace.
I hope
suppose
so.
It's dispersed over several programs, I think. I don't know that, but I would guess. I I think that I agree with the governor when he says that we getting back to education, that we have to do something about the ratios. Yes, the enrollment's down, but I've always said that because the ratio's down doesn't mean that the expense goes down, because you still have the light bill. It snows on the driveway. They have to mow the lawn. The lights are on, whether the teacher has 9 kids or 11. Doesn't make any difference.
That's correct.
Now, some of the other, we get a little heavy sometimes on aids and those kinds of things. I'll tell you, they don't pay enough money for me to be a teacher in a classroom with these kids today. It's unbearable. And if anybody hasn't visited a classroom lately, please do so. Because it's shameful what's going on in our schools.
But it comes from
behavior of
home
these
when the
kids.
when the parents, don't discipline their kids
Absolutely.
in a way that,
You wonder if you're paying your teachers enough to put up with that.
yeah.
It's hard. But I suggest to Governor Scott, and I did the other day, Governor, take a look at the Department of Education in Montpelier before you pick on our teachers up here in Franklin County. Now, when Don throws out ratios, and he's not picking on the teachers, I understand that. He's concerned for the taxpayers, and so am I. And he is a reasonable man, Don Tessier, and he supports the educational system to a degree. He's upset with the cost. We all should be upset with the cost. There are some things we could do, I believe, that wouldn't impact the program itself or jeopardize it in any way. There's some things we could do.
Cut some of the union districts.
Well, it's supervisory units.
Supervisor, yeah.
I sometimes watch these school board meetings, and I wonder where everybody comes from. I watch it on Channel 15, Channel 16. They have experts at every meeting. So I don't know where they're all coming from and how much we're paying for that.
Well, the biggest thing, like I said, I did some research. I called Richford, I called Enosburg, I called Swanton, I called Fairfax, I called St. Albans, and I got all this information on what their budgets were. And then I divided it by the number of students, like, for example, BFA and Missisquoi, Sheldon, and all that. And I said, why are we spending all that money? Why are we spending all that money for that? We're talking millions of dollars. Getting back there, found this thing here, Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium is a standards test given to over 6 million students, okay? Vermont Digger, all right, you know who that is, all right? Analyzed this thing here, all right, in 14 states. The statewide average of the SBAC score dropped by 20 points in 2007 as compared to 2006. Now, this is getting our students prepared for college and moving on. The average percent of students achieving proficiency this year was 48.4%, down from 50.92% last year. In almost every grade tested in both English and math, the percentage of students scoring in proficiency or above was lower than in 2016. All right. Now, this is nothing I made up, and I'm not picking on anybody. In almost every grade tested, English and math, all right, percentage of students scoring proficiency or above was lower. Again, or they got it again in 2016. I highlighted a couple of these areas. So we are spending all this money there, but our students' scores are going down. So somebody needs to find out why. All right, and this is where I hold responsible is the superintendents of the district. They should be saying, going to each school, why is this happening? Instead of what, I don't know, I've never watched one of those meetings. What do they talk about, Jim?
What,
The unification district?
Yeah, it's like the superintendent.
well, they want to know if they could save some money if they all chipped in and picked apples from the same tree instead of 5 trees. A lot of foolishness. A lot of foolishness. There is some good to it, I believe.
Oh, there's always some good.
And I think they've discovered some of that. But I think we've got to look at the supervisory union offices very hard. We've got to look at the number of aides.
Look this one over here real quick. It talks about 51 schools are smaller. All right, so this backs up what I'm saying.
Yes, it does.
77,192. So the population's going down, but the cost is going up.
Yes, that's right. I'd like to ask you guys a question. I don't have the answer for this. Maybe you do. I doubt it. In Franklin County, as we sit here tonight, tonight's Tuesday, it's a miserable night out, it's cold. Kids should be home, except for school activities and athletic programs going on. What percent of parents in Franklin County are reading or talking to their kids about school or education or helping them with math tonight or a science project? What percentage would you say are working with their children?
I would say
Less than 10%.
very, very, very small. I remember going to teachers' conferences when my children
Yep.
were in school, and I was surprised back then, and it's probably still even worse now, that number of parents didn't show up with their children.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm so happy that my children did well, but we made sure that they got the good teachers. I'm not saying bad teachers, but we programmed their studies all the way through elementary and even into high school, all right, to make sure that they got a good education so they could go to college and,
They
you
were
know,
prepared.
and be smart, all right? But
No,
you're right.
see,
The
and that's
parents
why you're
today,
getting a
they
poorer
send them to
product.
us and say, when you get them trained, send them back to us. And they don't want to get involved.
No, that's they. If you mentioned earlier that the product is less than desirable at this time, and less than it used to be, perhaps, and
I
lower
think,
quality.
yeah.
But they're not getting any help at home.
That's right.
I agree, but I also think that, you know, because we got special ed in a lot of these classes, it's holding back the ones that really are, you know, trying to achieve.
Well, it may slow them down, but David, and I agree with you on that subject, and that's a very touchy
It is.
subject. A lot of people.
All right, here's Franklin Central Supervisory Union wages. Okay, this is 2016. All right, I
Franklin,
got this.
what? School teachers' wages?
No, this is the supervisory union.
Okay.
Superintendent of schools, $120,000.
Yeah.
40
less than the governor of the state of
Right.
Vermont.
Special education director, $94,000. Curriculum director, $83,000. Human resource director, $83,000. Special education assistant director, $82,000. Business manager, you used to be one of those, Jimmy, $77,290. Executive assistant.
I never made that.
All right, 54,000. Grant specialist, 40,000. Benefits coordinator, right? Benefits coordinator. I'm gonna get that job. $54,000. I'm just going to say, I'm going to get you health insurance. I can
That's a
buy
good
that
one.
for you.
We can write all the teachers in
Right.
town. They got Blue Cross.
Right. And then benefits coordinator, okay, 54,000. Payroll coordinator, well, that she's not making a whole lot, 16. HR assistant, 33,000.
Human resources assistant.
Payroll coordinator, 17. Accounts payable clerk, 18. Accounts specialist, 24. Accounts specialist, 26.
What's that?
I don't know.
He's
I don't
just
know.
jealous he didn't make that money when he was working.
I'm going to. That's where I made my mistake. I should have got into education.
Not insurance.
You know what's going to be very interesting is the Highgate, Swanton, and Franklin didn't go into that district.
No.
How do you think those that'll happen? Or what'll happen out there?
I think they were smart.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think they were smart. But it's and it sounds like the three of us have an axe to grind, and we're
No, I don't have
bitter
an
about
axe to
everything.
grind. I just want to
But
make
we are
sure.
very fortunate to live in in Vermont in many ways. And if we weren't, we'd have moved a long time ago.
That's right.
Overall, I think our educational system does a very, very good job.
I think
I don't like the methods of teaching like it used to be.
Yeah.
A systematic way they go about their business, but who am I to say?
Our governor.
Could be very effective. I don't know.
Our governor talked a little bit, and I don't know if that's on his agenda, that Social Security and our pensions won't be taxed. Do you
What?
think that's going to happen?
Well, it better happen.
That they won't be taxed.
Will or will not?
Will not. That's what he's trying. You think that's going to pass? I'm going to turn into the Pope.
Well, the Pope's not going to help you. I've always felt that Social Security and those retirement programs shouldn't be taxed. I've
That's
always
right.
felt.
That's why South Carolina, Georgia, okay, North Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, and all those. That's why they're getting all these people who are leaving the state of Vermont are
They're not
moving to
being
those
taxed.
states
Yep.
because they don't tax pensions or Social Security
Or sales tax, a lot of them.
all right, and military. One of the biggest ones
Yep.
is military, all right, payment. And guess what? All those states have big military bases, especially Virginia, North Carolina.
Darn right
all
they
they
do.
do.
Colorado.
Okay, all right. So they don't pay. So that's why people are moving to those states.
Absolutely. I think Don and David, when was the last time you went to the legislature and met with your legislators down there?
I try to meet with them when they have their legislative breakfast.
Breakfast up
Have
here.
I been down there? I think maybe in the last 5 years, maybe twice.
Okay.
You can't find a place to park down
No,
there.
you can't. You got to go to the Vermont Liquor Control Board. Marty Manahan will
Yeah.
help us. He's on the board of Liquor Control.
Well, I mean, that's the problem. Is
But I think they still run the shuttle service, don't they?
I don't know.
I'm going to ask Kathy Keenan. If they
I
still
wouldn't mind
Yeah.
going down there and talk to these people, but like I do with like David. I go to those breakfasts where
Yeah.
they have like on a Saturday or a Monday.
And they don't advertise those enough. They can use that bulletin board
Yeah.
to put it out, because
Yeah,
I think
here
a lot
at
more people.
ETV.
Well, we're
yeah.
getting on. It looks like we're getting down to the
The 9
end.
minutes.
Yep. Well, my watch, maybe my Mickey Mouse is off, but it says.
That's because you didn't put your bifocals on.
Oh. Well, that's right. You're right. I didn't put my bifold. There it is, 51. But now it does work. That's what happens.
We were hoping that somebody, taxpayers, would call in. Diane Costas must be upset with us because she didn't call in.
Who?
Diane Costas. Because usually she calls in the Linda Kirkus
Diane
show.
or somebody, give us a call and tell us what's going on Lincoln Avenue.
Yeah. But I appreciate you guys coming in tonight. I know Linda was a little nervous at the fact that we didn't know what we could do. And I said, I'll take care of it. I said, I know two guys would go on the show
She's
with me.
nervous because she's afraid we cut her out of the deal.
Yeah,
No, no.
This
she's
is a
afraid we might
high-paying
take her
job,
job.
No. But
It's a high-paying job.
I appreciate you guys coming in because I know David and I know you as well. I mean, we're all on the same boat as far as you're on one political side of the line, I am on the other political sideline, but we're all in favor of lower taxes.
Hey, we got one call. Caller.
Thank you for calling. What's your call? What do you have to say?
Caller, we
Hi,
can't.
my name is James. I'm calling from St. Albans.
Yes.
I have a question for you gentlemen. What does a young man that's interested in getting into politics in St. Albans, what direction should he go in? Where does he...
Do you want to run for the city council or for representative of the city to go to Montpelier?
I'd like to start small because I don't know everything yet.
You live in St.
But you
Albans
guys
City?
seem like you know what you're talking about.
You live in the city or the town?
I live in the town, sir.
Okay. You can run for selectman, or
School board?
Or you can go down to the what?
Library trustee. You
Yeah,
go.
what else do they have down there? That board where
There's planning, but I think that's appointed now.
it is.
But you can
well,
go
he
down,
could get involved
He
with
could
that.
be appointed
He
Yeah.
could be appointed to
by
that.
the
Yeah, just
select board.
Call this number tomorrow, 524-2415. Speak to Anna. She'll tell you all the positions that are open. She will also tell you whether you need a petition or just a letter saying you want to be on one of these committees. But if you're an elected position like the select board, you have to get at least 35, 40 good names that are on the
Anna can advise him on that
That's
also.
all, yeah.
Yeah, call the town clerk's office, and we'll be glad to work with you on getting you involved because this is what we need. This country was founded on people like you stepping forward to want to serve, and that's what we need.
I appreciate that. And, you know, a lot of the young generation forgets the men before us that served and, you know, how this country is based and formed and how it's supposed to work. It's
Oh,
supposed to be handed off from each generation to the next, and we're each supposed to try to make it better for the people that come next.
That's right. All of us have served on some type of board serving the community, and then we pass it on to somebody else. So I appreciate you calling, and like you
Good
said,
luck.
get a hold
Thank
of
you
us.
for the interest.
All right, get a hold of us, and get a hold of Anna down at the town clerk's office. And if you want, I'll give you my phone number, 802-343.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
802.
343-1955, and I'd be glad to meet with you. And David, I know, would come along and we'll talk with you.
And anybody watch the show tonight, and if there's any complaints, Don Tessier, the best time to get a hold of him is at 10 o'clock at night.
Good luck to you, sir, and
Good
thank
luck.
you for calling.
Thanks for,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for taking the challenge.
Yep.
Well, that's good. Maybe we got one person interested.
Yeah,
in
I mean, that's great.
I think that's a new caller.
Yeah, that is great because he's right on. He understands that this is how the founding fathers did it. They got involved, left, came home, and other people take the place. I remember I was on the planning commission of the city.
Long time.
Yeah, and so you serve all that, and you learn a lot, and it makes you feel good because you're part of the community to make it a better community.
I've had the privilege, if you will, of serving in the legislature. I served with some good governors, I thought. Dean Davis. Tom Salmon was a seatmate of mine before he was governor, and I liked Tom an awful lot. There have been some good governors. I liked very, very much Howard Dean. I worked for Howard Dean. I managed the Champlain Flyer.
Oh yeah, I remember you,
The
Dad.
commuter rail.
Yeah.
And he was always awful to work for. Not saying anything about you, Howard. I hope you're not listening. But I did like Howard. I liked him. He could be arrogant, and he was tough to work for. So I've had fun in my years serving, and I've appreciated the opportunity. And
I think everybody should donate to doing some public service to give back to your society. That it's been good
a lot
for
of
me
people
and
don't
Franklin
think they
County.
have anything to offer.
Yeah, I was.
They do have a lot.
We'll
to
always
offer.
find work. We'll always find work for everybody to be part of the process.
Yeah. So, but I did 27 years on the main study. I've done 17 years on public access. So take and give something back to society.
Yep.
I think that would make our society a lot better. And Don, you're in charge of this show, and you're going to get all the complaints. So
That's okay.
You got to do the closing of the show tonight.
I guess 3 minutes, I guess.
You're down to 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay, well, I want to thank everybody, the gentleman who called in. And like I said, if you have something you want to talk to me about, look me up. I'll be glad to meet with you. Dave would be glad to meet with you. Jimmy would be glad to meet with you. But thanks for watching, and I hope you stay warm, and God bless America.
And pay your taxes.
Thank you very much, folks, for looking in tonight at the show. Hope you continue to do so. It's a great asset to our communities, I believe.
And public access.
Not necessarily this one, but public access is great.
Public access is here for everybody that wants to use it. Call up, make an appointment, and we'd love to have different shows on any topic.
Thank you.